Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 7 of Total Drama All-Stars called Suckers Punched. And overall, I have to say, this is a pretty strong episode. There's a lot of really good stuff going on here. There's a lot of nice character moments, and oh my god, Chef actually speaks. He says at least two sentences this episode? Oh my god. I'm astonished. Beyond words, astonished. Okay, but anyway, let's kind of get right into things and start talking about what's going on with everybody. First of all, let's kind of get things out of the way since he was one of the main focuses, is that Alejandro is once again center stage. And, not really surprising, seeing as how he managed to outmaneuver Heather and get rid of her last episode. And it's surprising that once Heather's gone, Alejandro very quickly expresses his feelings for her. He's like, yeah, Heather, call me. And, it kind of strikes me that Alejandro is sort of like one of those people that they just don't want to do anything that makes them look, quote-unquote, mushy around the person that they like. Too cool for school sort of people. But if you provide them with a little bit of distance, then they're okay with letting that side of themselves show. And somehow, Al, I don't think Heather is going to be quite as eager to forgive you as you may hope. Sure, Heather understands it's just total drama, it's just business, but ouch, dude, that's gotta sting. Especially since we did see Heather's like, hey, what was going on with what we had back in season 3 to a small degree. Heather is very much in that sort of thing with Alejandro where she doesn't really want to come out and admit her feelings, which is really in so many ways why they are such a nice fit with each other. They are people who are very much cut from the same cloth. And speaking of people cut from the same cloth as Alejandro, this time around we get to see his brother, I believe was named Jose, who's been mentioned, of course, several times in Season 3. Of course, Alejandro reminds us that he's the guy who's, Alejandro has always seen himself as second best to, and who likes to drive Alejandro crazy by calling him Al. Oh, there's a joke about that old song by Genesis that I could and I'm so tempted to make, but I know that the vast majority of people of watching this video will have no idea what I'm talking about. You can call me Betty, and then baby I can call you. You can call me Al. Call me Al. Yeah, you have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? I'm old. I hate being old. I hate sometimes that I remember the 1980s, but I do. It's not really fun sometimes remembering the 80s, but I do. It's it's a pain I have to endure in life. Oh, what my stepsister did with her hair back in those days. How she lives with the shame, I will never know. Anyways, so that's kind of really all I had to say about Alejandro. Now here Duncan does expand a little bit about what's going on with Mike and Mal. And I really love that they raised the question of, what if Mal is the real personality and Mike is the alternative persona? And that's actually a very interesting question. Sorry, I'm getting something ready for making a point in just a minute. There we go. Ahem. So, one thing I do kind of like about this whole situation is that it's very well chosen that Mal's name is Mal, because you can easily see that as being short for malfactor. Sort of some troublemaking and all that other good stuff. And if that's the case, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was, then that I think lends credence to the idea that Mal is the anomaly, shall we say, and that Mike is the true personality. And of course it doesn't hurt that in Mike's favor that he's basically kind of, at least physically, a bit of a riff on the character of Jimmy Two Shoes, who is also, I believe, made by the folks at Fresh TV, just like Total Drama, and shares the same voice actor with Jimmy Two Shoes. Now, beyond those particular facts, I really know nothing about Jimmy Two Shoes, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But the whole question of who's the real original, shall we say, personality, does raise a very interesting question in the mind of Zoe. And I like that. It really it creates some additional conflict and doubt for Zoe, which continues to make what's going on with her and her feelings towards Mike and this situation, it continues to make her feel interesting. The only thing that I'm really unhappy with about Zoe this time around is that it seems like they've decided to shift some elements from that were much better suited towards Dawn onto her. And I can't help but wonder if maybe the folks at Total Drama weren't expecting Dawn to be a bigger hit with the fans than she was, and have decided they want to kind of play around with that aspect a little bit more, and have just shifted that onto Zoe. Of course, if that was the case, well, you have to wonder why Dawn got kicked off the show so early. So maybe I'm just projecting, but was things like tarot cards, were tarot cards really the sort of thing that Zoe seemed to be into in last season? Because I don't really remember her talking about that sort of thing. But, that could just be my faulty memory. Let's see. Not a huge amount to say about Cameron this time around, although he does become one of the few Total Drama characters to be given a last name, which we learn is Wilkins. And, well, you can definitely understand why he's pretty happy to be rid of Sierra. I don't really see any point in reiterating what I've said previously about Sierra and having how her character development in Season 3 seems to have been quite definitely flushed and just returned her to the state of the Cody obsessive lunatic that she was in the very beginning. Because, it's not like I haven't made that point repeatedly. But seeing Sierra go was no surprise. I've said in the previous videos that I fully expected her to go pretty soon. And, well, here, that's what happened. Let's see. Not a huge amount to say about Scott. Still not a fan of what's going on between him and Courtney. Though here, this seemed to be a little bit more... Well, it was definitely the focus was much more on Scott. But as we saw in the scenes between Courtney and Gwen, Courtney's mind was really more about what was going on with Duncan. And I really did like that scene where Courtney and Gwen do officially patch things up. I mean, yes, Courtney even says, I guess I'm not as over it as I thought, but, here Courtney and Gwen just put on some boxing gloves and tear into each other for a while. And honestly, given their respective personalities, I actually can see this as being something that would totally work to sort of get the last of it out of their system. Now, I'm still not really completely sold on this whole friendship thing because, well, when did Gwen get such a hardcore desire to be Courtney's friend? Now, granted, I can understand if Gwen was like, I really screwed up, and even though I don't like Courtney that much, I did wrong by her, and I want to make amends for it. If they'd gone down that path, it would have made a lot more sense to me. But here, Courtney and Gwen acting like they had been close friends at some point? No, that doesn't really ring true to me at all. And yeah, I continue to be disappointed by this whole direction that they're going with Duncan. Now, granted, the last time we saw Duncan, I thought they had gone too far in the direction of making him bad. Duncan basically, like I said, after he broke up with Courtney, he seemed to enjoy just going out of his way to torment her and make her life miserable for no reason. And now it's like they've turned him into, God, I almost want to say it, he's like Season 3 DJ was in regards to animals, except Duncan is becoming like that in regards to everybody. And seeing him just sort of constantly flail around and insisting that he's really this bad guy, I mean, it's not really funny so much as it's kind of pathetic. You could just say, like, Duncan, why don't you just say, like, okay, I'm not evil, but I'm not the nicest person in the world either. Split the difference, dude. That's what most of us do. But, yeah. Honestly, though, and speaking of villain decay, man, we really have not been getting a whole lot of good villainy out of Scott this season. I don't really have too awful much more to say about that, but one thing that did jump out to me this episode, Scott mentions having a brother named Cletus. And when he said that, it sort of dawned on me. If you look at Scott's design, he really does seem to take at least a few visual cues from Cletus the slack-jawed yokel from The Simpsons. I mean, he's got similar colored hair, just a bit lighter. He's walking around in the jeans and the wife-beater t-shirt. And, he of course has a reputation for being filthy and kind of inbred and backwoods. Now, maybe that's a coincidence, maybe it's not. But, I'm just throwing that out there. Let's see here. Another thing about this episode is, while I'm glad that the total drama is going back to what really worked in the earlier days, it kind of feels like, particularly this episode, they're just recycling a little bit too much. I mean, Chris even goes through a short list of, hey, this is what we pulled from this episode in the past. And it's just like, ugh. Are you guys out of ideas for challenges? Because you came up with some really good ones last season. Now, granted, it makes some things you obviously couldn't do because you're not in the movie studio environment or you're not in the international environment. We're back at Camp Wawanakwa, which really, in my mind, is how it should be. And, there really is only so many activities that really fit with the woods. But still, I think they could be doing a little bit better job of, throwing new things our way. But I definitely did get a laugh out of seeing Chef in his rather frilly pink outfit again. That was a nice little touch there. And I do have to say, I was honestly pleased that even Chris was touched by the emotional friendship moment with Courtney and Gwen and ended up giving both their teams a point. It is so wonderfully rare we get to see Chris show anything that even remotely smells like empathy for his fellow human beings, which of course is how it should be. I mean, we don't want Chris turning into this season's Duncan. Chris, though, he really is such a horrible, horrible person. But, I do like that they aren't afraid to give even Chris a little bit of humanity, a little bit of heart now and then. It just keeps him from becoming completely and utterly unlikable. And let me see, just looking over my notes. Oh yeah, no merger this week. I gotta say, I was honestly surprised by this. It basically kind of goes against the standard rules of total drama. But is it going to last, and how much longer is it going to last? Well, the theme for this season is heroes versus villains. So I could honestly see them doing it, who's left standing at the end. Is it going to be the hero or is it going to be a villain? And if they do that, well, it does kind of break down. It actually kind of gets pretty interesting when we're dealing with a situation where there's a final three, because odds are it's probably going to be two people on one team and one person on the other, which, again, makes for some really interesting situations. And, of course, Chris is not above switching people from team to team based on their actions. So it wouldn't surprise me either if, Cameron being switched wasn't the last switch we see before the end of all of this. But anyway, guys, that's all I have for you this time. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And, of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi. Till next time, take care and have a good one.